Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's Thursday, and it's time for the Visual Studio Code live stream. Welcome back. Hope y'all are doing well. Chat, hope you had a good week. I hope everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. What's that from? It's from the Lego movie. Have you seen the Lego movie? Have you seen the Lego movie? Do you like Lego like I do? What's up, y'all? How are we doing? What's going on? What's up, Lucky Sharma? Welcome. Let's see here. What else is going on today, y'all? Glad you're here as well. So listen, we've got, wait, hold on, y'all, real quick. Before we go any further, I think I'm going to clean the camera. Is that better? It looks a little smoky. I think it had a fingerprint on it. Okay. So today, what are we doing today? Well, we're doing Java, and we're doing code spaces, and I think there's some Playwright in here as well, some testing. I don't know. I think I may be making things up now, but in any event, we have back with us, not yet. We'll bring him up in a minute, but I think this is the only person who's back with us twice now. This is like the people who host Saturday Night Live more than once. So this is Rory Preddy back again. The first person who's back 2 times. And if you've never met Rory before, you're in for a treat because there is only one Rory and we love him. We're glad he's here. All right. So what else? Oh, yes. Reynolds, my friend Reynolds, wanted to remind you that today is TikTok Thursday. And so we were going to show you a couple of our talks from the past week. I think we're going to start doing this every week. Y'all can let us know if you like this or if you hate it. Producer, do we have those videos ready? Are they loaded up? You can just run them whenever. I don't know if we've got them loaded. What does a developer advocate do? I work at Microsoft and my job title is developer advocate. And most people hear that and they think, that's not a real job. All you do is go to conferences and tweet and make TikToks. That's not true. It's a common misconception. We don't go to conferences anymore.
If you're ever asked to list the 4 tenets of object-oriented programming, just think of a pie. Not that pie, a pie. For abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, and encapsulation. Bet you're going to remember now, unless you think, was it a cake for coding awesome karate every day? A pie.
All right, so that's TikTok Thursday, y'all. We hope you enjoyed those. By the way, follow us at tiktok.com/@vscode or youtube.com/@code, which hopefully you're already on these places. Well, Kunal, I love that you're here, so it's mutual. Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks, as I said, we're going to be talking about Java today, so it'd be nice to see some Java. Okay, Sonny. Yeah, thank you for... Sonny's here. Hey, Sonny, what's up, man? All right, let's bring up some Java then. Let's go ahead and bring Rory because he's more interesting than I am. That's all I know. What's up, man?
Hello from Johannesburg, South Africa. And guess what? South Africa is not it's not, Africa is not a country. South Africa is a country. And I have to explain that occasionally to Americans, though. They go, you come from the country of Africa? No, Africa's a continent, though.
That doesn't sound like something Americans would say at all.
Look how defensive you are. But yes, so from Johannesburg.
Listen, have you seen, you can go Google these things of like Americans trying to name the different states in our own country.
That is true. That is true technology. That is like going on to your morning shows and really taking in the essence that is Americana, just watching those shows and then realizing for a second that the hostesses are just going to be entertainers. So, but from Johannesburg, South Africa, I've got a lot to show you today.
Wait, what time is it, Rory? What time is it for you? It's like 1 a.m?
No. See, exactly. You, Burke, you're the reason why, you think it's a continent. No,
I don't know where you are.
5 p.m. in Johannesburg. We're basically underneath Europe, so I can service Europe at the same time.
It's 7 hours? You're only 7 hours ahead?
8. I think it's 8 GMT. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So you're GMT plus 2?
2. Yes, GMT plus
right. For some reason, I thought you were in the same time zone as Australia or something. I don't know. What is the world?
Yes, just paint it with a big Sharpie, and it's the same country. No, we are right at the bottom end, the pimple of Africa.
Okay. So what are we doing today? I'm sorry. The chat doesn't like it when we banter. They're like, please get to the point.
Well, bring on my screen. I want to show you a flow that we've got. So I've got a nice demo that I'm going to show you today. I've got a inner loop demo where I'm going to show you with code spaces some new features that we've just recently launched on Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to show you how to run your dev cluster. And I'm going to set up my dev container.json. Incredible feature there that saves me so much time. I'm going to push to GitHub. It's going to run a build test. It's going to scan my code using Playwright. I've got a nice little test there with Playwright. And then I'm going to build my container app. I'm going to push my container image into a registry. I'm going to use CodeQL to do secret scanning because you should always scan it for vulnerabilities. And then I'm going to show you monitoring and then feedback loop. And that's everything I'm going to show you today. But it is a little bit daunting, but I'm also going to show you a trick on how I did this.
Okay, we've only got 45 minutes. You know that, right? It's not 45 days or 45 hours.
Good news is I actually did. I'm actually going to just set my timer now. I actually did this talk for a customer of Microsoft today. And we managed to do it in that. So yes, we have lots of customers. We're customer centric.
So just real quick, the inner loop that right there, can you explain to people what inner loop is? Because I think that's a term that we use at Microsoft, and I had never heard it until I started working here. So just explain what inner loop is.
This is me drinking coffee, coding, repeat, coding, repeat, coding, repeat. And this is me in my little dev cluster in code spaces on my Docker image. So I get a PR or a pull request, and I have to perform a function, and I would spin up code spaces or Visual Studio Code. I would start coding, and then I would test that inside my own little personal dev cluster. I would code, test, and debug, and then I would create a Docker file and push that Docker file through to GitHub. Once I'm out of my inner loop, then I create the outer loop. So this is the outer loop, also called a feedback loop. And then you would get a iterative response there back to your inner loop. And nice thing about this example is that I'm going to show you some new features outside of code spaces, but this entire example is in the browser. So your inner loop and outer loop and all of that, you can actually start off on one PC, go to another PC, but it's just browser-based because code spaces gives me that flexibility. I actually had a talk called Coding in the Shower. There was 2 problems with that title. One is that I don't actually own a shower in South Africa. My house is old enough that I only have baths. And 2 is that if you see here, people kept on asking me, okay, cool, have you ever dropped the phone in the shower? And yes, I have. Most phones are IPX6 rated, and I have dropped it here.
Apparently, you can take your phone in the shower. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do that, but somebody told me that modern phones, you can take them in the shower. Is that true?
You can. They are water resistant, not waterproof, and that makes a great way for you to have your dev cluster.
I don't buy it because here's the thing, Rory. They also told me I could put my phone in the microwave to charge it, and that wasn't true. So I'm not taking it in the shower.
I want a TikTok of you microwaving your phone, or it didn't happen.
I didn't actually do it. All right, let's go. I'm sorry. Yeah, Jay is like, in an hour, you're going to do this in an hour? Yeah, Jay, apparently we're going to do it in an hour. So let's do it, Rory.
Okay, so first of all, I've got a nice little project. You can go in and you can have a look at this project. It's under my GitHub repo there. And I'm going to show you exactly how I did this. Now, why is this important? It's because I actually keynoted Microsoft Build. You know that small little conference, Burke, we do for like 2 million people? So I keynoted the Java section there with Scott Hunter, and I did this demo. And people constantly come to me, Rory, how did you manage to do this? I had like 2 weeks to do the demo and everything like that. So I'm going to show you how I did the demo, and I'm going to show you how I did it with codespaces. So first of all, you're going to go into the Spring Pet Clinic project. This is a nice canonical, I don't even know how to spell canonical, but this is a nice canonical example that people use in their demos. So I took this example and I fiddled with it until it runs on a container app in codespaces, and with a lot of our new features. So you can go into the Spring Pet Clinic application, and I've got it running. But before that, I want to show you, because I've been sitting with the product teams, before we show you the container app, I want to show you the same example, but I've got it running locally. So let's go into here. So I've got the Spring Pet Clinic application running locally, and you can see here it's got some nice little source folders. And Java looks like C#, Burke, but it's a much older, much more powerful language. Shots fired.
Whoa. Shots fired. Take it easy.
So in this actual model here, we've got entity entity classes here, and it is a pretty nice little Spring project. So you can go there and you can see there I've got my Spring Pet Clinic application. The only real change I made for this is that I added a little tool key there called Spring DevTools Restart Enabled, and it allows me, when I do my demo, to actually hot replace, which I'm going to show you now. But you can see also there I've got a little gray section. So that's the first thing I'm going to show you here, and it's an enhancement called Inlay Hints. So if you see there, I've got the inlay hints there, and that's a new feature we only released recently that allows me to say system.setProperty, and it's telling me, okay, cool, what is your property, and then what is your value? So you can actually get the inlay hint of the key.
Parameter names.
Sorry?
Those are the parameter names.
Yes, those are the actual parameter names. This is really new for the Java world, because now we can get to say, we're as cool as the other kids. So we got the inline hints. So if you go into set property here, and you actually mouse over there, look at that, key and value. So it actually tells you what the recommended, and also for here, you go Spring Application Run, and it says their primary source, and it'll tell you exactly what to do. So it hints to you a feature. You can actually hold down Control or Command there, and it'll switch it on and off in Visual Studio Code.
So wait a minute,
So
does C# have this already in Visual Studio? I've never seen this before.
It is a very new feature. I'm not too sure, but if you don't have it, please ask, because C# is like, you know, our cousin, our brother from another mother. So you really want these features, because it means that I can code now and I can go, okay, cool, set property. What am I looking for? And
yeah, that is a nice feature. Chad, do you know if C# has this either in VS Code or Visual Studio? Have y'all seen this before, these inlay hints? Curious. Anyway, we'll keep going.
Okay, so I'm going to start this application up. So I've got my little Pet Clinic application, and I'm just going to click start, but I'm going to do it from the Spring window. So this is a new window. So when I spoke to you in February last time, we didn't really have that. That was not separate. So I've got a project there, but I've also got all the beans. So these beans are little services that run inside the application. And then I've got endpoint mappings. So if I wanted to, I can just click on the bean and it'll take me to the class. Ho-hum, that's great. But can you smell what I'm selling, what I'm about to do? So I'm going to click on Start here on this Pet Clinic application. And this is going to start my application, my Spring Pet Clinic application. Obviously, the law of demos is going to possibly play out at any given time. And look at that. It inspects every one of my services real time. Inspects my ID there, tells me that I'm running singletons, which is the same as, you know, a singleton entity objects here. And I can actually go in and look at the hierarchy for the actual beans. Let me just move that a little bit there. I want to go back in there. I can go into the hierarchy. I can go through every bean. I can even see the system beans there. So if I want to go and into the innards of the system, and I can close that there, so I can get through that. But check this out. On owner controller, which is a REST controller, it'll tell me the URL, the REST URL that I've got. It will inspect.
That's so cool.
And I can actually click on the REST URL there. Okay, let's bring it up there. Let me just bring it up there. This is what happens when you have StreamYard, because the actual Chrome window goes somewhere else. We want to go, let's just close all of that and find that window. Where are you, window? You know what? One time I did this, Burke, and I actually closed the StreamYard window, which was, there we go.
You can't
Which
do that.
was
No.
shockingly inappropriate. You can see there's my StreamYard window there. But yeah, so you can actually, that's my application. But I want to show you the actual application. It's a bunch of people who go find the owners there, get the owners there, and I can edit their pets. Now, the novelty with this, let me just put my StreamYard window away from you so I don't close it by accident. So, and let me get my Visual Studio window back here. So the novelty is I can actually go in and now do my testing. And if I wanted to find a URL mapping, and so this mapping here is process creation form, init find form, and I want to get find all. So yeah, so let's go and find the big one, which is find all. So we will go back here, make that a little bit bigger. And so yeah, so let's owner, find all, init creation form, process creation form. We want to go find all. Let's see if we can find it. Add page ignite, show owner. Okay, yeah, show owner, and then it'll show me owner ID. So if I click through that, and then it will tell me, wait a second, you need an ID there. You can't see that because of StreamYard. But it really adds an ability to go in to each one of these REST controllers, and then to look at which REST controller is performing which task at any given time. An incredible new feature that we've recently added for the endpoint mappings. You can see there, let's close that window there and maximize that again. So the endpoint mappings, you can just go through them at any given time. Oh, there we go. Find owners. Yeah, I should have actually done this from, there we go. Owners get. There we go. Process find form.
Super nice. Man, that is so nice.
And then I can just click on open, and I can just go, look, it even opens it internally. You can actually set it to open internally. And then I've just got that URL that I can just go through.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, JavaScript doesn't have this stuff. I don't think. I haven't seen it before. So
there's a service that runs, let me bring you back here because I can't see your beautiful face. There's a service that runs on Spring. So this is using Spring Boot called an actuator. And the actuator goes in and manages the lifecycle of all of the beans at any given time. So think ASP.NET injection with that. And so it actually starts it up and has like an admin service. And you go in there and you just inspect it. So we paired and partnered with VMware, which is one of our partners who created Spring. And we created the tie-in to that to allow us to have that introspection. And this is a new feature. It's just recently been announced. You can go in and download it from the extension store. It's called the Spring Dashboard, and it's part of the Spring tools that Microsoft actually supports.
Very
so
nice.
I'm going to stop.
By the way, Jay was pointing out that you had an exception when you clicked on the owner ID. But I assume that's what you were trying to show, that it was.
Yeah, no, I was actually had an exception because I didn't put an ID there. So it was a great way to actually show you what to do. But okay, so that's the two of the features. So I've showed you inlay hints, Spring Boot enhancements. Now before we go into container apps, I want to show you something called drag and drop. Now, last time I was here, I actually showed you drag and drop from the Spring Pet Clinic in the file view. And I got a lot of slack. They said, Rory, no, Java projects. So I can actually go in and take owner like that. And I can drag it to the model view there. It will say, are you sure you want to move? And I go, yes. And it will say show preview. So I can go show preview, and it will show me exactly what I'm going to do in my refactoring. Ooh. What's going to happen? What I need to do, I can just go apply. Now look how brave I am, live on air. Now I've dropped owner into, where did I actually drop that? Into the model view. And I can actually go back and I can take model owner back into that model package. Check this out. I'm gonna prove a point to you. I'm gonna move that, show preview again, apply. Now theoretically my source, once it's finished here, should be, look at that. Source control says I'm 100% fine. So
Wait,
it moved it.
do that again, because I think you can just Control Z. I think you can literally undo. At least this works in the Explorer. I'm curious if it works here.
Okay, if you do break this project, okay, well, I've got it in codespaces. This is a good thing. So
Just
this
try
is my
it.
project I wanted to show you. I'm just trying to think. Okay, I think I've done everything locally that I want to. Let's try break it now. So if I go there and I drag it into model, and what happened there? Okay, let's take that again. Let's go into owner and drag it into model.
Okay.
Move it there. Show preview. No, it's going. It's changing a lot of source.
Yeah,
the package,
that's a lot of files. I don't think this is going to work, but
I don't know if it's going to Control Z. Let's just go there. Apply.
all right.
Okay, let's go now. Let's see. Edit. Undo.
Yeah.
Control Z. Undo.
Did it put it back?
It did. Hey, wow! So it remembers everything I did. Like I would do that.
And did it clean up? It did. It cleaned up all your.
It did. Hey, I did not know that. That was pretty impressive.
So here's why this feature exists, because all the time people accidentally drag and drop files from one location to another without meaning to, and then they can't find it. Right? If you have a big project, you're like, oh crap, where did I?
Yeah, no, I've done that. I've done that.
So you can just Command Z and it will just put it back to where it was, which is a super nice.
Well,
feature.
now they know. Now they know, which is great. So the last feature I want to show you, which I can't actually show you, is that we support Java 18 now. Can you believe it? We're on 18, Java 18. I remember when I was on Java 1, and then we went to 2.
No, I don't. I don't remember any of those Java versions. Not being a Java dev. I just remember the one that you need to run Minecraft.
So the final feature I want to show you, and this is the most important feature today, because this is the feature that people have scrimped for more than anything, is that we now support Lombock. So we paired and open sourced a project. Lombock is basically if you have annotations that forward engineer your classes. So for example, if I've got an owner, and this is the microservice version of that pet clinic, and I go getter and setter over there and no constructor or all constructor, it'll go and inject those constructors into my file. You can see that I don't have a constructor and I don't have getters and setters in my entire project. And I know what you're saying, C# has getters and setters, but we didn't really have them. So we have records now. But a huge win is that we now support getters and setters in Lombock. You can go download the Lombock extension that is supported by Microsoft, and you can start getting those getters and setters. And this
What's
is
it called? You said Lombock?
Lombock. So it's a third-party
gallery.
Yeah. So it is there. There we go.
Lombock. Okay.
Lombock getters and setters. And this is a huge win for developers, Java developers there. Lombock's there means that you can actually have getters and setters in Java supported by Visual Studio Code. We're not talking records. We're talking proper Lombock annotations there. All the lovely features that you do, Microsoft now has an extension there. And we are really glad to have that. So those are all the new features. Now let's go into the browser. Not that we went in the browser before, but let's go into the browser here. And I want to create a new browser window on this side, bring it here. And I'm going to go back into the Pet Clinic application, Rory P / Spring Pet Clinic. And, you know, the thing I want to be proud of actually, other than all of the new enhancements, is that if you go into the Spring Project Pet Clinic, the project that I actually am going to show you that I forked off, and you go into dev containers, check this out, Burke. And if you go into Dockerfile, there's my team lead, Julian Dubois, which I helped actually create that. So we're actually going to third-party tools there, and we're helping them build the Dockerfile and dev container JSON. And it's a small project. It's got 6,000 stars, but it's the main Java project there. And we dev containered it. And then I went a little bit further, and I've got my own dev container here. A little bit more. So in my dev container here, I'm using the incredible Codespaces Linux. I have fallen in love with this. So I went in there with the pet clinic project and I said, go add some dev container files, and it did it for me automatically. And I love the codespaces links because it included everything I needed to on a normal development environment. So I've got my Docker file, which we're going to go through now, which is basically the codespace Linux. I set up Go and Python because it is codespaces. So you really want to have that. And it comes with Java and Maven if you want. And then I've got my extensions. These are my favorite extensions. So first of all, GitHub, you know, the repo of choice. Then I've got the Java pack, and that includes 6 of the core Java extensions, the Maven extensions, the actual Java language server that we paired with Red Hat with, the actual dashboards. And then I've got Azure, so I install all of the Azure services. This is the Node Azure pack, which basically means everything. Then I've got container apps. If I want to go and tinkle with container apps, I can. I've got Docker, because I'm going to show you a demo where I'm going to actually create a Docker instance in that. And then I've got Playwright, which is an incredible tool there. And Playwright there, you can actually go in and script out your tests, and it will create a Java version of your test. You can do it in .NET, Python, and JavaScript, and you can just go in and create your scripts. I've got my extension file here, and then I've got my Docker file, which is pretty simple. It actually just says on my Docker file, just go use Universal Linux, which is basically that the supported version that Microsoft and GitHub uses and publishes it there. Very powerful. And I'm actually using version 2, which is so much more features than I have. So then I go back into my Spring Preddy application, and I've also templated if you want to play around with it. And I've got a small little code space. There's only 4 CPUs, 8 gigs of RAM, and this thing is so cheap. Like, I run this the whole day for pennies. And let's open this up. So I have set it up before, so it is going to connect, and it's going to kind of use the layers that I did before. If not, then it has to go in and download that Linux container. But the nice thing about codespaces Linux, I don't know if you were aware of this, it caches that Docker container. Yeah. So whatever you do with codespaces Linux, wherever you are in the world, the speed and improvement that you get, the almost instant when it takes those layers. That you saw how quick that was, though, and it just started up. It connected to that, and then I've got my pet clinic application again. Let's close that, and let's actually close all of those there. I've got my pet clinic application. Don't worry, I'll make it bigger. It's funny to make it big because I'm actually making the browser bigger, not the instance bigger with codespaces. So I've got my Java project. So you'll see here, it's going to go scan the Java project. And then I've got my Java project, my pet clinic application. Now I can run it and check this out. This is a Spring project. I can even do what I showed you there, but I'm just going to run this from that. And it's going to do what codespaces does well. It's going to run Docker in a browser, which is, running my Spring application on a Docker instance. And then I'm going to show you how to, a little bit later, Docker in Docker, not to confuse you.
Yeah, let's say, is that running in Docker inside of Docker, or is it just running in
not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Now, it's running inside my Docker instance on codespaces, but don't worry, the inception will hit you very soon. And now I've got, it says there, my application is open. I'm going to open in browser. And now I've got my pet clinic application. It's going to connect to my port forward. I can find my owners here. And if you remember there, so that's George Franklin. Remember him, because I'm going to need some help a little bit later to remember him. I can edit that owner, update that owner. Oh, wow. Okay. That was an error. I cannot edit George. Let's try it again. George Franklin, be updated. So if I go back into my pet clinic application here, you can see I've got it running. I think I did do debug. I want to actually go into my debug application, into my source folder, into the owner controller that we've got there, Java and owner. And you remember the owner controller that we did there. I want to put a little breakpoint on the last name, because I constantly forget George Franklin's last name. So I'm going to put if owner controller is null. And we've also got function breakpoints also. So you can actually do function breakpoints. You do need to put a regular expression, but that's a new feature that we actually have there. So you can actually do function breakpoints. You can right click and go edit that, and you can actually add an expression to break on that function, which is a huge thing for Java developers actually. And I also want to just add a little bit of code there. I want to go system.out.println. print ln. Did you know that the print ln was actually taken from C#? From C++. And then owner dot get name, get last name. There we go. And open and close and curly brackets. Not curly brackets, semicolon, because Java loves semicolons. So now let me actually add my debug point on that rather. Cool. And then it will do that. Now if I go back into my Spring Pet Clinic and I go find owners. Oh, I need to actually start this and stop this from in debug here. Let's go do that quickly. Let's go debug. And let's go.
Is it gonna live reload? Is it gonna hot reload your code? Because that would be
no, not from debug, but just watch what I'm going to do now. So if we go into the Spring Pet Clinic application, I know hot code replace is not an old thing, but it's for .NET developers. It's very new. So let's go open in browser. Of course it is.
That
there
sometimes
we go.
happens.
Find owners. And now you can see there it's actually got a debug point. So on owner controller. Now it's actually broken on owner controller. And I can actually say, why is my owner there null? I can just go find it, inspect it. And I can go see there, wait a second, everything's null. The first name, last name is null. Nothing is there. So, wow, okay, there's a problem because I don't know who George Franklin is, and I want to search for him. So I'm going to carry on there, and I'm going to get everything back. But I want to go find owner, and I want to find Franklin, like that, find owner. Or Franklin with an S there, like Franklin's. And no, has not been found. But it just says they're Franklin's. So I want to look at a mechanism. So check this out. I'm going to just go into there, and now I can go owners. Now check this out, Burke. That you'll appreciate this. Plus, now I'm going to hot code replace that there. If I go hot code replace, it's going to, well, law of demos, hopefully work. Hot code replace, and it says one code changed, one class change there. If you hear my kids, well, are they my kids? No, there's no proof, but check that out. So now I can go back into my Spring Pet Clinic, and I can go, okay, find owners, and it will find the owner there that I had, and it will say owner Franklin's. So that's hot code replace. So now I've got cool. Now I'm going to stop that. Now I've got my inner loop started. I can go back into my inner loop. I've got a Docker file. So I've got a test Docker file that I've got. So I've got test.docker file. I can right click on that before I push it there. I can build the image. I've got my jar file here. I'm going to just build that image there. And then I'm actually going to go test my Docker file, because part of the inner loop before I push it to container apps is to make sure that I can test with my Docker file. So that's running Docker now. Let's go into Docker. So let's go Docker. And if I see images here, you'll see there's my test Spring Clinic. And then I can right click and go run. And now it's going to run. And where is it going to run? It's Docker in Docker. Open in my browser. And of course, it's going to go bad gateway. I have to wait for it. That's what I forget. I have to wait
does this until it's
you have to actually, you know what I realized? You have to right click on there and go run into active. If you run into active, then it actually gives you the log file. Then you can actually go in and see when it's running. Now I've tested my Docker file, and I can actually go in and attach a shell to that. And the same script that I had there and an application, I can see George Franklin. So that's my test Docker file that I have. So I'm going to stop that there. I'm going to go back into there. And then I'm going to go now. I'm going to push this to container apps. So the biggest issue with container apps I found was getting this ready for a demo multiple times. But I created a Docker file, Docker in Docker, that allows me to do and create my GitHub actions in one command. So this is a multi-stage Docker file. It first goes in and goes Maven install. It skips the tests. And then it actually runs that. Now, the reason I've skipped the test is because I actually have an integration test with Playwright. So before I even start that, I want to show you what integration tests look like. So let's go back into our source folder, into tests, and then to Java, and then Playwright tests here. So this is my Playwright test. And you'll see there in my Playwright test, this is why I didn't want to run this in Docker. I actually spin up an entire instance end to end. I find the owners. I input first name, last name, address, city, and telephone. And then I go add owner, and then I check that the owner name is actually Rory Preddy. So, but I'm going to do Rory there, and then I can go in and go run that test. Let's go and find that test there. That's going to fail. And this is why also in that Docker file, before I push it to container apps, I didn't actually want to run it though, because this is an integration test. Now I've got that running on a GitHub action separately. And you can see there, it is going to take a few seconds to start up, running the test. And it should actually come back with the test gutter to say end-to-end tests. There we go. It's running the Playwright test should fail because my name is not Rory with an I, which is, there we go. And now I can go, wow, okay. Let's go fix that there. And we can run our tests again. Now, what I did show you previously is that this tests are tightly integrated to the test framework here. And instead of your Maven test taking, and this takes 29 seconds, this takes about 2 seconds to run end to end. If I run all of the tests here before we show that, so we'll come back to that quickly there. You'll see there that all of the tests for the Spring Pet Clinic are tightly integrated because those tests are actually tied directly into the Visual Studio Code test extension now, not only Maven. So, okay, so now I've got my, my Docker file. I'm actually going to just move that over while the tests are running there. And I've got my Playwright file that I showed you. Now I can actually go on the Docker file. I'm going to make a little change here. And you can see there, test, and I can go test 4. And then I can right-click on that. Sorry, not right-click. I can go into my source control. And I can discard the changes. And I can commit that. And I can go for Burke. And then I can go commit and push. Oh, yes, I need to actually pull. Of course, does that catch you also? You know, constantly syncing and, you know, let's go there and merge. Whoa, live merge. That's interesting. We don't want to read me there. We want to go unstained change there. We want to commit those change, and then we want to push. Okay. Live merge of in Visual Studio Code. Always hairy, always stressful that we have here.
All merges are stressful.
Okay, so now I've pushed that, but what did I push it to? I pushed it to a GitHub action that is going to go create a container app for me. It's going to push it there, and it's also going to run my integration tests end to end. Now, the secret sauce, and I did promise that I tell you, I did all of that with one command, one actual command that I've got here. I've got, let me just show it. Let me get it a little bit bigger. I just did AZ container app, pet clinic, resource group, pet clinic, and then the repo that I have. And then it goes in and it creates all of my resources, my container registry, my container app, my actual GitHub actions. It takes my service principles and also my authentication against my GitHub account and goes in and creates an end-to-end GitHub action. You can see there, set up the Docker build, log into the container registry, build and push the container registry, which it creates for me. And it's doing it while we're talking right now. Then it goes in and does a build. It takes that Docker file that I have. You have to have a multi-stage Docker file. That's why I had a test Docker file and a multi-stage Docker file. It logs into Azure. It deploys to the container app that it creates for me, updates the registry, and then pushes it through to that container app though. Now, this is the little nuance that I showed in the build, the Microsoft build live stream that conference that I did. But I wanted to show everyone how easy it is to do that. So if you go back into the little script that I have, all I did was just did AZ container app up. I gave it the name of the application I wanted to do in container apps, the resource group that I'm going to choose, and then the repo on GitHub. Now, you do have to authenticate with GitHub. You have to authenticate with Azure, and then it'll go in and create everything for you.
It creates, and I know what the actions file. Is that what it does? Is creating the actions file for you?
Action files, the principles, the usernames. It creates the underlying container registry. So if we go into, let's go Rory P / remember the Spring dash Pet Clinic application. And then we go to our actions. We should see it running. There we go. It is busy running. Trigger auto deploy on Pet Clinic. So that's the file that it actually created. And it went in there. I am running CodeQL. that at the same time, so to make sure that all my source is fine, and I'm quite confident that if there is a vulnerability, I also ran an end-to-end CI with Maven to run that Playwright test. If I go into the merge, when I merge the branch there, I can see there that I'm running a build. It's going to go in, it's going to it's going to run Maven. Now, Gradle's a little bit quicker for this. So let's go back there for a second, because you don't want to see Maven there. It's going to give someone like, a headache there. It's going to build and deploy it at the same time. But the secret sauce is I didn't actually write any of this. It did everything for me. And then I can go back into my portal. So let's close that there for a second. Let's close the inner loop for a second. And you can go in and create your own inner loop there with codespaces. And let's go back into my Azure, because I'm going to show you the revision management, and we're going to see it live on air. Go through this. So I've got container apps, and I've got the exact same Pet Clinic application. That Docker file that you saw that I tested, that that application that I did, that's the same application that I've got in my inner loop. And I pushed this to the Pet Clinic application there. This created it. That little AZ container app created it for me. I didn't have to even do this. And then I've got my revision management. So as it pushes it through here, you're going to see revision management that comes through here. You're going to find that it is going to live on air update. So let's go back in here. We're going to merge it, and then hopefully it will deploy. And it is deploying to container apps here. Now, the nice thing about container apps here is that you can choose multiple revision modes. I've got revision mode set on single revision mode. So when it actually is going to push it onto here, it's going to overwrite it every single time. So now you see also as a cloud advocate exactly how easy it is for me. So if I've got any repository that runs a Docker file, I can just do AZ container app. It'll go in and create that container app for me. I can just sit back, I can code in the shower, and it'll create the end-to-end workflow for me without me having to go create service principals, go create container registries. So let's go and see what it's doing here. But while it's doing that, you'll see there it is actually going to go green eventually. I can see here that my container is currently scaled to 0. So if I see my container, it's currently scaled to 0, which means that when the first time I hit it, it's not going to cost me anything until I actually hit it. But I can actually scale it if I want to. I can also see here that on my container, it's referencing the container registry, and it gives it a funny little name. I don't know, like a funny little name there. And the actual image tag that I can use if I wanted to do, and the container registry, it created for me. So it's not going to cost anything until I hit it. And it's going to run 2 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM. And it's finished now. So the law of demos, drum roll, please. It's deployed to container apps here. And in revision management, it should say that it just upgraded. Yeah, that's it. It just upgraded live on air. It upgraded the revision. And I can actually go and label it and do multiple revisions. I can go back into container apps here. Container apps, the actual application. And without me even have to worry about it in the shower or in the bath, wherever I was now, I've got a container app application, and I can click on it and 0 cost. So it didn't cost me anything to start with. And it's going to spin up that container, 2 CPUs. 2 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM. And if everything comes about, we can also, go into Visual Studio Code, if you remember that, we can actually go in and scan the log files here. So let's go in and let's go see. I just wanted to show you that quickly. On container apps there, you can actually go in there as it creates that instance and goes in, and you can scan the log files here. So if I go to the Peclic environment, to the application there, I can get full view with that extension on Peclinic here. I can see the revision that I actually pushed. And let's go through there. There's the logs, and I can actually right-click in there, upgrade revision. There's so much on that extension. I can open the log stream there, and I can stream directly off there. And let's go in and just hit a little bit of a refresh, because this is a live demo. So sometimes it does actually give me a run for more. But I do have a backup just in case it doesn't go 100%. So you can live stream that, and we can actually see exactly what is going on there, and you can change your revisions there also. Let's go into the container app while that's coming up, and we can take some questions. But this is one that I just did recently today, and then you can go through there around those revisions. I have been pushing it a lot, and I'm also changing the revisions. I've been trying blue-green deployment, canary deployment, and that's another app though. So we can take that there. Let's just close all those windows that we've got then. GitHub.dev, Pet Clinic, lots to do, and we've done a lot there also.
Looks like it's up now. Yeah, the first time you hit those containers, they have to build, because I
there
don't
it is.
believe
Wow, hey. But also, I'm in South Africa, so sometimes it actually takes a little bit long. So that's the Pet Clinic application. That's my backup there. So that's the backup. Now you can warm it up. So if you have one, because this costs me nothing, but now it's actually costing me because it's running. But you can actually warm it up. And then if you want to run it though. So that's everything I wanted to show you. I know it's a lot, Burke. You're looking at me like,
well,
he did it again.
Let's throw it chat. Look, we've seen a lot of chat. So what would you like to ask Rory? We got a couple of questions. Not all of them related to what we've been doing here at the very end, but Jasper was asking, does VS Code recognize the nullable annotation?
Oh, I don't know, but I hope so. But yes, then VS Code, the nullable Lombock allocation annotation, or these that I don't know. That's a very good question, Jasper. If you can come back to me there, because we do support all of the annotations that Lombock has, though.
Yeah, I have no idea. We're talking about Java. I'm way out of my element. We might as well be talking about like I don't know, chemistry. All right. See. Here's one. Look, someone's just trying to get their Java FX app to compile. They can't. Rory, would you please help this person?
Spin it up in code spaces. Play around with it, because most probably it's your local environment. So you definitely want to check to see, can you mess with multiple JDKs? Can you actually mess with Gradle or Maven? And code spaces you saw there, I just spun it up. Did you see how quick that was? And it's only 4 CPU, 8 gigs of RAM. It's an incredible ecosystem to sandbox your tools there. And I'm running on a Mac here. And a lot of times, there's just issues. I've had to reinstall Visual Studio Code because I played around with an extension there or something like that. Because I like extensions. And then I go, wait a second, code space is much easier. I go in, I add that dev container, I spin it up, and I can get 32 CPUs, 128 gigs of RAM if I wanted to. A man can go drunk with that power. I want to also introduce you to a Quarkus workshop that we've been working with one of our partners with. So have you heard the word cloud native? So you saw that container app with that Docker instance, but that is native Docker. So it actually will go in and create layers. But with Quarkus, it actually goes in and uses a head of tile compilation and creates a highly compressed version of the Pet Clinic application, or in this case, the superhero application, that instead of taking a few seconds, even a millisecond start, this is sub-millisecond. So your entire container is hyper-optimized, and it uses ahead of time compilation. It goes through everything that you've got, that you've compiled, and optimizes it. So there's no bytecode checks in runtime. It knows everything about that. It's literally magic. And you can go in there and you can run the CAPS workshop. It shows you also the basics of container apps, and you can use any IDE, obviously Visual Studio Code of choice. Though we maintain this, I help the product group, and it's done in combination with Red Hat.
Very cool. So check that out. Yoda's not a superhero, but we won't get into that.
Look at the amount of points he has there. So
that's ridiculous. He
won against Scream.
It's misinformation. All right. I know Rory used containers when he deployed to ACI. Question: was Azure Spring Cloud considered? Why not you just use that?
Yes. So you can actually, very good point. And love that point. So you can actually, and I've got Azure Spring Cloud, and I've got the entire Pet Clinic application running currently here on Azure Spring Cloud. And if I go into here, I'm actually took all of that and split it up into multiple different applications. So if we go into here, it's got apps here. So I took the owner app, the pet app, the visit app, all of that, and I split it up. Now you can actually bring your own container. So Azure Spring Apps is an alternative to container apps, but it's a lot more powerful when it comes to Spring applications. And now I can go into my API gateway and I can actually click on that, and it'll give me my pet clinic application, but microservices. So owners is a microservice, and George Franklin is an owner service. And look how fast that is, though. This is running actual libraries, but you can actually bring your own container. You can actually go and bring your own container, and it will use build packs to hyper optimize it.
So there's Jay. Hopefully that was your answer there. You can use either or. I think container. Oh, so here's one. So this is a good one because I have no idea what any of this is. Does container apps edge proxy? I don't know what edge proxy is for container apps, first of all. Support sticky sessions that work with WebSocket. So I think they're asking, can you establish a WebSocket to container apps?
You can actually front it with API Gateway with the Dapper components, though. So once you front it with the API Gateway, you can actually use the full features of API Gateway to go in and deploy to WebSockets, but it's basically edge zones. So we have with Dapper, you can actually deploy the Dapper component onto container apps, and then you'll get all of those features there. And then the edge zones will be fronted inside the actual zonal gateways for each location.
Very cool. So check that out. I think that's it, Rory. We have a new segment that we're doing as we close out. It's just a lightning round for you. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. We're going to get out of here. Oh, are you South African, by the way?
I am South African, born and bred. Well, not
born
really.
and bred South African.
Yeah, not really bred, though, because I don't want to think of my parents like that.
All right. So here we go. 4 questions. Jason or JSON?
So G for jungle, so it would be Jason. But I don't call it like that. I call it Jason.
You say Jason. Okay. You're right. Correct. That is the correct answer. I will tell you if the answer is correct, by the way. Hold on. Check you down for 1 credit. Much love from South Africa. We got somebody else from South Africa here. What's up? Yeah. Are you in Johannesburg?
I am in Johannesburg, yes. Joburg, dude.
Joburg? Is that what y'all call it? Is that for short?
Yeah, we call it Joburg.
Nice. Why not just call it the Berg?
No.
You need to come to me for branding help.
That's what wealthy people do, and we're still on our way to be wealthy. So that's
right.
what.
Live from Joburg. Tabs or spaces?
Whatever Visual Studio Code tells me, actually. So ironically,
it doesn't.
Whatever it picks up. So a lot of times I would just download, Visual Studio Code, and it will tell me what it is doing. I actually don't know what I've set up. It probably is tabs. I don't know. But whatever it does, so the default that is in with Visual Studio Code.
Incorrect. The answer was spaces. You're 1 and 1.
You're knocking the tool that you're promoting.
All right, listen, we're not done. GIF or GIF?
This is controversial. Okay, I would say GIF, a GIF file.
That is correct. I know the creator says the proper pronunciation is GIF, but he's wrong.
It's GIF, so it would be hard for me. GIF.
Yeah,
GIF.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
All right, last one. What is your favorite Java joke? If you don't have one, I do.
I do. How do you relate Java to JavaScript? And it's the same as when you say ham to hamster. So, the irony is, who owns both trademarks of JavaScript and Java? Oracle.
Yeah,
because
Oracle.
JavaScript, you can't actually use the word JavaScript with our trademark. That's why a lot of people say JS.
Now you're going to get our stream sued. Thanks a lot, Rory.
Your stream. But yeah, ham to hamster. That in the beginning, JavaScript actually tried to use the same naming terminology. That's why you'll see there, because they want to do Sun Microsystems want to do leverage off the popularity of Java, hence why the name JavaScript. So they used a lot of that, but then they quickly changed over because they realized that an interpreted language didn't really need to have the same kind of object hierarchy. So I love JavaScript, especially on container apps. It is so quick to be able to just create something and just chuck it into a Docker file. No compilation, quick and easy.
Excellent. By the way, y'all, all of that was incorrect. JavaScript came first. Java stole the name from JavaScript. That is true. Just take my word for it. All right. Do you want to hear my Java joke before we go?
Yes, go.
Okay. Y'all listen. This is not... We do language jokes because we love them all. I have jokes about every language. This is my favorite Java joke.
I know which joke this is going to be. I actually know which one. Okay, go.
The XML one?
No. Why can't Java developers see in the dark? Because they can't see Sharp. Why can't Java developers see in the dark?
Why? Because they can't see Sharp.
Yeah.
I feel like mine's better than that. Chat. By the way, Chad, do you have any Java jokes that you can get in here at the very end? Come on. It'll be worthwhile. I want to see one that I haven't seen before. So my favorite one is Java is a very powerful tool for turning XML into stack traces.
I love XML. Bring back XML. I love XML.
Saddest thing in the world.
XML was like, driving stick with a car. And you Americans don't understand how important that is to do.
Yes, like, we do. We have manual transmissions. What do you think we're doing over here?
Every video that I see, movie that I see has automatic. I don't see the Matrix. That's one of your your homegrown biblical movies that depict America. They're chasing through the actual
the Matrix is a sci-fi movie. That's not. You think we live in pods and have a bunch of hoses?
That's a documentary, and they're chasing through there, and they're not doing stick.
All right. Rory, why did the Java developer quit his job? Because he didn't get a raise. Oh, but we
are looking at improving our raise, and we'll get there eventually.
Java is so old. If it came a few years prior, it would be called C.
I love C. C is powerful. You're not gonna launch a spacecraft with Java. Okay, let's be brutally honest.
Why not? You can launch a spacecraft.
The James Webb Telescope. I'm quite sure they used C or C++, or actually wrote their own language. So you can use Java, but at the same time, we're still missing one or two features of the language that I'm looking for, like getters and setters. We don't have that yet. We have to use Lombock, but you can now.
But you can use code. I will say this: Java's come way further than I ever imagined just from this demo. I mean, you have things that we now don't have in JavaScript, which is kind of not right. That doesn't feel right at all. So we say these jokes because we love them. We could joke about any language. All languages are great. Chat. Use the language that you like the most, the one that makes you the most productive. That's the right one to use. Rory, thank you so much for being here today with us. We appreciate having you back. And chat, we will see you next Thursday. Bye, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.